Can I invite up to the stage Andrew Thomas and Andreas is already here. Kyle and yeah, it's guys, I think if I were read the audience, maybe a couple minutes to refresh. We'll have a 5-minute break and then we'll come back.
Yeah, that's good.
You guys, but I think this is better. 5-minute break. All right, talk to me.
Well, actually, it's me. Yeah. I saw it. Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
I want to split it in the entire conversation. And I start. I want to make sure the split between hires and remote is better.
Marcel, can you hear me?
So
Yes, loud and clear. Hi, Mark. How you doing?
Good, good. So we're going to, a few minutes, what I can do is have you, I'll put you on this, on the screen and you can,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Should I quickly test my video? Can you see me properly?
I see you.
Okay, perfect. I'm ready to shoot whenever you give me a sign.
Yeah, one second. I'm gonna bring a microphone over here. One
And
second.
I prepared one slide, which will, support what I say, but I don't necessarily have to show it. You give me the idea if you prefer this.
Can you come back on camera?
Sure.
One second.
I spent a lot of time there. The company is going to right? They bought very different. Right.
There we go.
I spent a lot of time.
There we go. That's
So you spent the whole time.
Oh. Yeah. Marcel, can you say something?
Sure. I'm with you. Can you hear me loud and clear?
Yeah, hold on.
Sure.
This might not work, Marcel. Hold on.
Okay.
Let's try it again. You say hi?
Okay, perfect. Hi, Mark, can you hear me? I'm with you.
Yeah, I'm me.
Okay, perfect. How is Ohio so far?
Hi, it's great. One second. I'm Nishant.
Perfect.
5288. Where are you now? Oh, okay. Bye.
So, my advice would be to go for it, because we're losing people to the weather.
They are doing great. That's what this is.
Okay.
You know?
We should probably do a couple of hours.
Well, I think we gotta.
I think we're a little over.
We have three. We have three. This is
So maybe talk about, the fact that we're going to be on the move and in Stockdale. Some people may not understand that and may help them focus for the last.
okay. You want to do it?
No, I think it should be you. You're kind of the MC, right?
Happy to do it.
You can do it when we start off and then give them something to look forward to, right?
Sure. All right. Can you hear us? Okay, Marcel, you want to try to say hello again?
Yeah, sure. Let me try it one more time. Hi, Mark. I'm with you. can you hear me loud and clear? I tried to, is it maybe my microphone or previously it worked, right?
Try again.
Okay, I try again.
I'm not
So
hearing.
let's do it.
I mean, I hear
Can
you.
you hear me now better?
Yeah. No, I think the battery of this, okay, I think what it is,
Microphone,
I
okay.
need a new battery for this microphone.
All right.
Big companies. About there's 30 vehicles that ground up new batteries. Designing, development, stuff right now. Another entity that's doing second life. Most of the work's on branding stuff, so. Marcel, we're gonna try it again.
Sure. Sure. One more time. The next one. Is the battery better now?
No,
No, not working.
the problem is
Um,
the reverb.
mhm, I see.
Let me try one other thing. I have another idea.
Okay, cool.
I have another idea. Let's see if this works. Try speaking now.
Okay, okay. I'm speaking loud and clear. I think it's
Speak
the
louder.
best I can. Yeah. Hi there.
All right, we have about 4 technologies. That are various things that we're trying out.
You did a bunch of things, various.
That's right. That's our strategy. We just incubating technology to do it.
All right, you sound good now. Hopefully it'll work.
Okay, perfect. Perfect. Thank you for fixing that technical issue.
Marcel.
Hello there.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. I think you're talking to me. It's a little bit not so easy to understand, but I hope that I can, tell you a few words about hydrogen. But first of all, give me a sign if I should start already.
See him very well.
No, he's talking.
No, but you can't, no, he's talking, but we can't hear him. Notice it is, no, 50% good. The talking is good, the hearing not.
Oh, everyone's,
Okay.
because everyone's.
Okay, let's try it. If you,
Say hello again, Marcel.
Marcel, can you try again?
Okay. Hi. Yeah, sure. Hi there. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me loud?
We're going to start again now. I just want to let everybody know that there is something we are working towards. In addition to the better understanding of accessibility
Give me a sign when I
Ohio Innovation Feature, we're working
start,
towards the deck and wine and beer. So we basically stay on the schedule. We might actually be able to get to the roof deck and that wine and beer. I just want to give everybody that star to focus on as we get into our next now. With that, I'll hand it over to Eddie.
Hey, guys, I see empty chairs. I'm a very optimistic guy, but I cry when I see empty chairs. Can we all take our place? Great, thank you for coming, sitting up front. That's a bold move.
Very well.
I wait till Jack sits. The moment he sits, you can start. There you go.
You mind if I sit in your seat?
Please do. Now, so this is the third time we're doing this panel. And the first couple times we added oil and gas industries in the form of the word drilling And as a true sort of newfangled decarbonization sort of theme, the first thing I removed from the panel is drilling. So that's decarbonizing right there. And so we had to limit the amount of sort of technologies to discuss because renewable technologies is such a wide number and sometimes misnomer for what we do. And so today we have a panel which is super interesting, I think, on two of those major technologies, namely hydrogen and batteries. And so I will split the panel, if you like, in two because they're somewhat overlapping, but not really actually overlapping. And have the experts sort of speak and weigh in on their own portion of it. And obviously feel free to sort of comment on the other side of the fence as well. What we're not discussing is, for example, nuclear. And by the way, the good thing, and I think Steve mentioned this morning, Microsoft just made a deal with, I think, Helion Energy for a takeoff for nuclear power. And Bill Gates just mentioned 2 days ago that he and Terra is going to build a plant for nuclear power in Wyoming. So there is a lot going on in that sector as well. It's about 7 to 10% of the new energy stack. I think very useful. We're not discussing it now. The other super interesting technology we're looking into, but we're not discussing now, is geothermal. Using the old oil and gas infrastructure, but to create geothermal energy. I've seen stuff in Iceland that's really particularly interesting. But we're focusing on these two things. I just wanted to mention it because in future panels we'll address those. Quick thing on hydrogen. There's a tremendous amount of, let's say, hype about hydrogen. And as an investor, early stage clean tech investor and clean tech platform called Virtu, you always have to really be mindful when investing in hypes because currently the hype is AI. I'd be running away from investments in AI because you probably need bets at the table, or you have multiple billions of dollars you can invest in. That's a different thing. You should always really watch out. So hydrogen, why is it so interesting? It's very high energy content for its weight. But the problem is that it has very low energy for its volume. So you don't see any cars running on hydrogen because it's double the size of the car. And so the new technology is needed to store and transport it. Fuel cell technology, which the Japanese invested in, and a lot of other countries too, is very early development. It needs more efficiency, more durability. However, if you look at the installations for electrolyzers, it's growing from a 15 gigawatt at the end of 22 to a whopping 242 gigawatts over the next 8 years. So we know there's a lot of investment going into building the infrastructure for a lot of green hydrogen. Longleat Green, Cockerill, Plug Power, ITM, ThyssenKrupp are a lot of large names in the space involved. So there is something there. And what there is there is 130 billion that will be spent in electrolyzers, according to Bloomberg, over the next 8 years. So we're talking to two hydrogen experts from two different sort of vantage points that I really like. First, I'll talk with Andreas. And Andreas, let me introduce you, I met him several months ago, actually longer ago, member of the executive management team of Lambda, which is a super interesting company that is originally a printing company using some unique nano process. I won't go into exactly, but it's super interesting, I think. I've been in that phase too as investor and operator. And the wealth generated there, he used in a family office to invest and deploy in different types of companies. It's sort of an incubator and spin out of technologies. I think, Andreas, I'm sort of jealous of her job because it sounds fascinating. And specifically, the company he introduced a number of months ago is Electric. It's a Israeli-based company, and basically uses the stored form of hydrogen in form of pellets. He has a wide variety of interesting jobs before that, amongst others, head of M&A at Deutsche Post, which must have been a very difficult job to do. And he was a manager at Arthur Andersen. I look at Mark Sainer here, so it reeks of 361 DNA. That's Andreas. And then we have Alex Zorniger. Did I pronounce that correctly? Okay, perfect. He is VP of Business Development of a company called Power to Hydrogen. And it's a seed-funded company. It has raised a good amount of money, 7.5 million in funding, and they're working on producing sustainable green hydrogen. And Alex develops early-stage commercial partnership and guides product development to fulfill customer needs. Alex and Andreas, maybe you can start. Can you sort of answer sort of what is in your neck of the woods, if you like, the single most misunderstood trend that you know of? And then the second question is, what's the unique promise of the business you're in this case, electric, you have a lot of other businesses too, and the most difficult hurdle for the business to overcome?
Yeah, good question. Maybe most misunderstood is indeed that the thinking is still coming from the fossil fuel age, that there will be one solution fitting everything. The new energy world will be a lot more diverse than the SAP world by nature, because the energy density of all the alternative energy sources, sun, solar, wind, etc. I mean, they are more deconcentrated compared to fossil fuel. So there's that for me, I think, is the most misunderstood aspect. And then to answer the second question, and that fits with that answer, not excellent. What excites us, we are already invested in JetCell. That's already a fuel cell company. You have developed a new type of fuel cell, which is more efficient than the incumbent one. And by the way, the first fuel cell flew to the moon. That was the Cali-based fuel cell. So the technology is already around for a while, but it's now, but only now, after many years, many trials, and you need a lot of patience if you're material science and in deep tech here, because things take a while to develop. You need to test a lot of things, and only when you have overcome one problem, you see the next one. And after having made the investment in JetCell, there's now developed two business models and applications for fuel cells. In general, I think that's representative for where the industry goes. First, they focused on the backup power market, so replacing diesel generators. And now they're more going into off-grid applications. This is also by chance. 2 weeks ago, I talked to someone from one of the larger German utility companies very active in the gas industry, and they have now to develop the new business model. They're 33 billion market cap company, and they have to reinvent themselves. So just as an example of how impactful now all those energy transition related topics are becoming. It's really there. It's happening right now. And so coming back to fuel cells, they are now more and more being used also to stabilize the grid and to replace gas turbine. Maybe that's the midterm, but those are the projects our utility companies are working. And the other company we are now looking at, and also have the ability to raise money to find partners is electric. And what they are doing, they are focusing exactly on that last mile decentralized hydrogen provision sort of problem. They have developed a new way how to produce hydrogen powder, KDH4, so calcium potassium hydride, which has the same energy density with ammonia, very similar from a cost perspective, but only because they have improved the process. So the innovation is the chemistry. They have developed a new catalytic process, and anecdotally, it took them 10 years to get to that. Like many real deep tech companies, so they start with an idea. They came out of academia. They thought, oh, it would be a great solution for mobility, and they overestimated the matureness of the technology. They underestimated the challenges of deploying the technology and transforming them into a solution. and to scale it up. So in principle, it's now a restart of the company, the business, also with the new management team. And this is what I personally like about them. They hired the CEO who came from the specialty packaging industry. So from an industry where he knows the challenges and he knows what a company needs to scale up. And the problem they are really solving is it's non-toxic opposed to it's solid, so it's easier to store and easier to transport. You just need a standard container to transport it. It's safe. And they have also developed the release system that only needs water and the powder to then release the hydrogen again. And it's closed loop, so the byproduct will be then transported back to the plant and be loaded again with hydrogen, and so you have really a green solution. And also the production of the powder is they reduce also the amount of energy that you need there. So it's really an end-to-end sustainability solution. And the end user is also there. You can either use it at the first case, this in the Netherlands, by chance. There is the first pilot plant because there the green hydrogen is being produced. The first application is in construction for your heavy-duty machines. So a crane operated by their technology. So it's there, you can touch it, you can see it. And now the challenge for them is to see how to scale up fast enough. Because we of course Senko or fund is investing in hydrogen infrastructure here soon. Now the infrastructure decisions are being made, and the decisions are going in the direction of ammonia. I mean, we can get. And personally, I've seen a lot of times in the chemical industry. What's the inferior? And someone mentioned here Betamax earlier in the prospect. It's a good example. Because it happens in other industries as well, and chemical industry as well. It's a toxic material, but once you have managed to handle it, once you have the storage in place, once you have the procedures around it, it doesn't bother you anymore because it's done. And if then a better technology comes up, then it's too late for that. And here for hydrogen power versus ammonia, it's exactly now that point where we are in. And it's so exciting that they we're already in the market and facing those challenges. But we're pretty convinced that they will find the solution, right solutions for them.
And address one follow-up question. What is for you the biggest challenge you see for the company going forward? That you need skill or the next level?
Yeah, to solve the chicken and egg problem, because only the users, even if they're convinced of the use case, that they will say, okay, but I'm only now switching and making my investment capex decisions. If you can guarantee me that the power supply will be there, and if you then go to someone, and what is exactly one of the questions: do they build the plants by themselves, or do they do that together with a partner? And it could be either someone who's currently producing that. They didn't invent the powder itself. Obviously, it's already been used, but not for energy purposes and in other industries. So you could go for one of those partners, or you go to someone, a contract manufacturer. There are a couple of them in the chemical industry who are used to produce the good old fine chemistry. All of that went now to companies specializing on producing things or molecules for others. So you could partner with that. Or, and maybe that's the most likely solution, that what they told me that they're going maybe for licensing partnership model where then someone else is building that. But speed is indeed what is now critical to build up the capacity and to scale up as quickly as possible to be in line with the capex decisions that are being made on the users.
What I love about this, it's very real. Right? I sold the product. It's in the customer's hands. It's not sort of a pre-revenue company anymore. And from an investment perspective, you de-risk a whole bunch of stuff. And the risk is now in execution and scaling. rather than does technology work, is there right product market fit? So that's what I love. I'm gonna ask the same questions to you. So what is the least misunderstood trend where you are, the biggest promise of the business you're in, and thirdly, the most important hurdle needs to be scaled?
I think the interesting thing in our business is a lot of people try to pit hydrogen directly against batteries. You know, are we going to be driving around hydrogen vehicles in the future? And I think that's the wrong conversation to be having. I think hydrogen batteries will compete in certain markets. But really, in the hydrogen market, what we're trying to decarbonize is this $150 billion market. What we're trying to decarbonize first. $150 billion industrial market going into things like our petrochemicals, going into ammonia production, which goes into fertilizer, going into chemicals like methanol. Hydrogen production for these markets mainly comes from natural gas today. It emits 2% of global CO2 emissions. So one, it's a massive market. Two, it's a major contributor to CO2 emissions today. So we can talk about, transportation, hydrogen, and fuel cells and batteries. But I think the most misunderstood market is, just looking at fuel cell vehicles and saying, is this the only thing that hydrogen will play in? So our company, Power to Hydrogen, we're working on bringing that hydrogen production cost down to be competitive with hydrogen from natural gas. So electrolyzers today, so splitting water, applying electricity to split water into hydrogen and oxygen. Some of the electrolyzers today struggle to tie into renewable energy. And that can be a real problem because if you run an electrolyzer off of grid energy, sometimes it can be even more carbon intense than just making hydrogen from natural gas. So it can be pointless in certain areas if you have a very carbon intense grid. So those electrolyzers that don't tie to renewable energy are a real problem. The other electrolyzers called a PEM electrolyzer, which is pretty expensive materials like platinum, titanium, iridium. We're going to see a real supply chain challenge with iridium specifically. You start to look at some of those electrolyzer projections that you were talking about. If PEM electrolyzer supply, which we even mine something like 3 to 4 times in global iridium production, which is in that platinum group metals. So there's going to be some supply chain challenges around that. So our company, our technology is about building electrolyzers that tie directly to those renewables, but removing that material cost and making it much cheaper. So we use nickel stainless steel to reduce that material cost. So I think that's one of the main misunderstood things is will we drive around hydrogen vehicles instead of use this hydrogen? The second question was the opportunity. I think your business specifically. Yeah, our business specifically is in those markets. So many of these companies are trying to eliminate their scope 1 and 2 emissions. The Shells of the world, the Yaras that are producing fertilizer, they have to use hydrogen. They can't replace it with anything else. And so there's a big opportunity in over $100 billion market to ultimately decarbonize those. That's what's driving these massive hydrogen electrolyzer projections for the growth in this market. So I think that's a big opportunity. And I think one thing that's a hurdle for our industry is, in the battery world, Elon Musk and other battery makers did a very good job creating a premium product to be able to sell batteries initially at a higher price, to be able to generate demand because it's a very sexy product. In the hydrogen space, because it's an industrial product, it's more a commodity. It can be more challenging because there's not a sexy hydrogen production system for a petroleum refinery. It will really competing against cost. And so I think one of the hurdles is continue to have these companies be pushed to decarbonize, because once we get to scale and batteries and the technology smart, we can be cost competitive, but we need customers in the meantime in order to generate that revenue, excite investors, and provide exciting exit opportunities for those investors. So I think providing early stage customers in this market of commodities is very important. For certain industries, a lot of customers are really doing a lot of great innovation work. We have partnerships with Shell, we have partnerships with American Electric Power and L3 Power, but more and more of that will drive this industry and allow us to decarbonize this massive CO2 producer.
So follow-up question for you is that President Biden obviously gave us with the IRA a tremendous amount of cookies, in particular in hydrogen, a promise of a $3 per kilogram for green hydrogen credit. What role does that play for you specifically in your relationship with Shell's customers? And how fast will that change the equation?
it does change the equation significantly if you capture that full $3 per kilogram. So even with our earlier systems, before we scaled up manufacturing, we can probably produce hydrogen for $3 to $4 per kilogram. So if you capture that whole $3 per kilogram subsidy, you're at below $1 per kilogram and actually cheaper than hydrogen and natural gas. So it's a huge benefit to our industry. The challenge is, I think we posted this to our LinkedIn recently. This goes back to my comment about renewable energy and source that energy. In order to capture that full $3 per kilogram, I think you need to be using an energy source that's 98% clean. So if you were to run your grid off of 90%, I think maybe so to get $1 per kilogram, if you run your grid off of 80% renewable electricity and 20% gas power plant, you would only get $1 per kilogram. That's a pretty clean grid, but you're still missing 66% of that subsidy. So again, in this electrolyzer space, being able to develop these electrolyzers that can manage a very intermittent power load is extremely important. That's what we're going to capture with our technology, which will allow us to scale up. And then once these subsidies are gone in the long run, you can be competitive. But if you're not tying into renewables, you're not going to get that full subsidy. And how's the grid in Ohio? The grid in Ohio is fairly carbon intense. So we're we're building our pilot plants and things like that to tie directly into a new, wind farm or a solar field. If you were to just plug an electrolyzer into the grid, it's going to have a carbon intensity would probably be, none of these production credits.
So you have to couple them with renewable sources.
Yes, that's our yeah, the hydropower to compete opportunity.
How do you get the hydrogen to be used?
Yeah, production, sorry, compression logistics are a real problem too, because if you can site the renewable fuel right next to the major user, that's great, right? But oftentimes where we need to produce industrial chemicals and things like that is not where we have the land to do all the wind and solar farms. So logistics and transportation is an extremely important component. One component of our technology that we're developing is going to higher pressure to make those hydrogen compressors. So producing hydrogen directly at the pressure you need at a tube trailer, because typically you would need to produce hydrogen and then have a really expensive compressor. But technologies like yours are critical because we want to line directly with a local energy field. We need to figure out an affordable component for transportation, and doing it with the gas that we compress so significantly, use all those compressors is a real cost. It's going to drive that thing more difficult. Any comments on that?
Yeah, 100%.
So the third voice, digitally and electronically up from us, Marcel, can you speak a little bit about the challenges you see from a sort of European, German perspective as an investor, as a fund investor in hydrogen, having a fund around hydrogen?
Absolutely. First of all, hi, Eric. Nice to meet you again this way. I'm sorry that I can't be with you today, but I'm happy that I'm virtually connected to your conference or to your event. Okay. Can you hear me loud and clear, or am I interrupted? Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, can you now hear me better?
Sort of.
Okay, perfect. Eric, Mark, thank you. A pleasure to meet you again. I would appreciate to be with you, but unfortunately, I'm not able to attend to Ohio today. So, glad to give you some insights from a private equity point of view about hydrogen, especially in Europe, or more precise in Germany. I think we have some interesting market developments, and I'd like to share some points of view. Especially, I think the whole world is talking about hydrogen, and everybody understands that this will be a major topic, a permanent market ramp up for the next decades. So infrastructure-wise, it's clear it's going to be a large-scale game. But somebody has to build up this infrastructure. And of course, some of the components and plants come from large conglomerates, but behind them, there is a supply chain producing parts, pieces, components, etc., delivering those pieces to the large conglomerates so that they can build up the hydrogen ecosystem, so to say. And for introducing Senko Hydrogen Capital, we, as a private equity firm, focus on the supply chain, backing them with capital and know-how to make to help them to capture great returns and the opportunity of hydrogen. That's in a nutshell. But let me give you some market insights about functional value chains, because of course the IRA and similar governmental tools in Europe try to boost the development, and of course this has a large impact. But on the other hand side, you rely on functional private value chains which allow companies to make a profit, right? And that's not so easy. If you don't have the subsidies from the IRA, you mentioned the $3, for example, then many business cases are not yet at a certain stage that they are profitable or bankable. So what happens in Germany right now is, for example, that you want to force the heavy polluters to pay for the transition, and there is a market instrument which probably will come up soon, so that in the mobility sector, heavy polluters like trucks, like the oil industry, the fuel producing companies, for example, diesel or gasoline, they have to pay for the usage of clean hydrogen in the mobility sector. Similar to the CO2 emission trading, it's just another conversion of that to the long haul and heavy duty sector of mobility. And well, that allows the market to make a profit on a simple regulation, similar like Elon Musk with Tesla is also earning his large amounts of profit on selling the emission savings from electric vehicles and charging that in return for the ones who buy the emission certificates. And they try to establish this simple mechanism on hydrogen usage, and we believe that's a complete game changer. We're talking about 12.5 kilo per green hydrogen, and that allows a large profit share if you produce hydrogen, for example, for 6 to 7 kilograms. Either you import it for that amount or you produce it on your own within certain spots in Europe. And yeah, everybody's expecting that this development is coming, and with this tool in place, a hydrogen truck is at the same cost level like a diesel truck. To be more precise, 100 kilometer of a mileage, 100 kilometer of a truck would cost around about 64 euros for a hydrogen truck and 65 euros for a diesel truck. So a little bit cheaper even than a diesel truck. And that would not... Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Thank you very much, Marcel. Appreciate your comments. I
had to switch, Marcel, sorry.
Could be on the topic for another half day, but I want to switch to the battery side of things. We've got two exciting folks here also who produce stuff locally. Kyle Shand from Nexteris, President and CEO, an R&D company and a product delivery company. In very interesting products, solid oxide cell materials and advanced gas sensor products, and a product pipeline which includes a range of catalyst and corrosion products. And they're to meet the demands of their products, they're currently growing their manufacturing capacity in the USA, which is super exciting. And Andrew Thomas, co-founder and president of Oculon. Oculon Energy is a Columbus, Ohio systems engineering firm specializing in energy storage and cloud-connected solutions. And the company leverages expertise and experience in energy storage, AI, and IoT to accelerate and de-risk transition to next generation lithium-ion solutions and beyond. And they design, prototype, provide commercialization services for OEM customers. Both are well funded and both are in a great position to ask the same questions that we ask to the hydrogen panel. Can I start with you?
Thanks for the introduction. So, one of our companies is in the battery space. So I'll talk in particular about that. That's Adina Power, which is a long duration sodium solid state battery. I would say in our industry, the one misconception is with lithium ion batteries. You know, lithium is the predominant player right now in long duration storage. There's two things that people don't like to talk about, don't want to talk about. One is safety, and two is supply chain, right? They're both tremendous risks in that industry. If you think about lithium, you know, there's a lot of fires that the industry doesn't want us all to hear about, right? In Tesla vehicles all the time, and in stationary energy storage, and we're familiar with that space because one of our products actually directly detects and prevents fires with the amount of batteries. So we know that. But in South Korea, there have been over 35 fires in stationary energy storage facilities, right? That's a lot, but the normal public doesn't hear about that, but it's all over the place. And it's just a fact, right? Because lithium ion batteries are these little cells or packs. And, you know, if there's a problem with one, then it propagates, right? So it takes, you know, even if it's 1 in a million, chances are that you're going to have an issue. So as the industry progresses, and lithium will absolutely still be a part of that, but we just need to find a way to make that safer. The second part is supply chain security, right? There's a lot of materials in lithium ion that come from, you know, geopolitically risk countries, right? Or the, you know, lithium, just the problem of getting some of these materials is really tough. So I would say those are the two issues in this industry that I see. On our technology in particular, so we have a product called Adina Power. It's a safe, domestically sourced, long duration battery. So it addresses the shortcomings of lithium in long duration storage. And you know, we talked to a head of sustainability of a large one of the largest US banks, and he said, if you put lithium in your facility, it's a career limiting decision, right? Because you know, who's going to put a lithium ion battery on top of a building in Manhattan? Who's going to put lithium in a hospital or in a school? I'm not going to put a lithium ion battery in my house, under my garage where my kids are sleeping, right? So you know, there are battery technologies out there that are addressing the safety issue and also the supply chain issue. So our battery, which is Adina Power, it's a long duration battery where it's made out of sodium and chloride are the main materials, and it's domestically sourced. We're going to make it domestically here in the United States, domestically manufactured. It has longer duration and hits at all the other points that where lithium falls short, right? So I see the way the industry is progressing is that there are a lot of batteries that for long duration storage that will displace lithium, right? Lithium currently has over 98 to 99% share in the stationary energy storage market. That will slowly decline, and, you know, flow batteries and other batteries like ours will continue to gain share from that market. And I would say the toughest part for us right now is speed to market, right? It takes a long time to develop these technologies, and it takes a lot of capital, and there's some demonstrations that need to be made, right? So there's a lot of roadblocks, and for us, it's really a matter of, you know, how do we move fast? How do we engage with the customers at the right time, do the demonstrations at the right time, and be first to market for all these other new battery technologies that are trying to displace lithium in long duration storage. So for us right now, the exciting thing is we have a demonstration with Duke Energy later this year, 15 kilowatt hour demonstration at their Mount Holly facility, which is part of EPRI. So that will be a big step for our technology and put us on the map. And then after that, we're looking to scale up quickly to go to market.
And specifically, as a follow-up question, what do you think will be market share in, say, 5 years? Right now it's 1. all the other technologies.
Yeah.
It'll be fine.
Yeah, I think it's in long duration storage or longer duration stationary storage. I would say it's still gonna be small, like maybe 10 to 15% still, because
Right, that's 10x.
it's 10x, but if you look at lithium, I mean, there's just so many facilities, over 300 new lithium ion gigafactories being produced around the world right now, right? And the costs continue to come down. So what these new technologies need to be is, it needs to be safe and have that sourcing advantage, but it has to be cost competitive too, right? Nobody's going to pay more for, one of these others. Your barrier to entry is even higher. So we have to, all these other technologies have to be at least on par or below where lithium is. So I think that's the big challenge. I do believe that there's enough investment in this field that other technologies will enter the market and take 10 to 50% share within the next 5 years.
I think I'm gonna dovetail on, kind of put your 2 points on supply chain and safety together. And just say complexity in lithium ion battery systems. There's, I think, a lacking of, in appreciation, from investors to operators like myself to even the investment community, about this transition that's happening in the American economy from where we're developers of technologies to, like, we're kind of going back to an industrial complex here. And I think the challenges that you're talking about fires, you look out in the industry. I mean, Tesla, Elon Musk, they built a company only focused on one thing. That was just doing electric vehicles. And everyone said it was a fool. And that the investors were foolish for a while. And then all of a sudden, you have GM tried, faltered at the start. Ford tried, faltered at the start, working with less capital allocated, maybe not the best talent. And I think it took an appreciation from those types of companies to say, all right, this is really, really hard. If we're going to do this, we can't kind of have to do this. We're going to have to all the way move into lithium powered systems, whether that's automobiles, or stationary energy storage, et cetera. Where's Akamai Energy in kind of our response to that? Our firm last year had a thesis that the sustained shortage in North America was going to be around talent and the ability to develop safe and scalable lithium-ion solutions. I think we believe that with money, humans are pretty good at figuring out how to get the minerals out of the ground. Pretty good at figuring out how to make a thing, but how to develop a complex thing requires a lot of collaboration, requires education that doesn't exist in our elementary and high schools, doesn't exist in our universities, doesn't exist in our postdocs. I think there's a competency that has to be developed. And, our thesis was if we put together some people who have experience, because there's not a lot out there right now, with some unique facilities, while the rest of the industrial complex builds, you have to develop something. And most companies are not going to do that internally because I think they're realizing we can't. So that's why we exist. I think the challenge that companies like mine face right now is trying to understand, how does your business grow? How do you create sustainable earnings amidst this general economic transition that's taking place? And for us, maybe we're a little too Midwestern. We did a 10-figure Series A, not because we couldn't do a bigger plan. We absolutely spent months talking about doing a SPAC. Because we've been in the industry, we said, we know these people, let's roll it all together. How exciting would that be? We ended up with maybe a small plan because we were sure that we could do it. So I think one of the challenges that we face is amidst the new economy, amongst this transition to making things again in America, what is a plan that we can execute, that we can do? That's really important to my team, that's important to our investor. There's a company called Terex that makes construction equipment. So hit the topics.
Hit the topics. We have 4 minutes left, actually. It's too long. So I'm gonna give you each virtually $10 million. You can invest in none of your own companies, that would be so easy. I'll do it in one of the 3 other companies we talked about. What would you do in like 1 sentence? Why?
I would take your powder technology. We need that for the hydrogen ecosystem. Producing hydrogen cheaply enough is one piece of the puzzle, but we need to get it to the customers. So I'll let on it.
That's good to hear. The company will need it instantly to overcome the chipping Act problem to get production facilities and production capacity as early as possible. So that would be a good step.
I would probably only invest in something that I feel like I knew about. So I would probably choose the Lion Tamer product because it's addressing a problem that doesn't maybe exist. It exists a problem. I mean, it's addressing a problem that exists like by and large today in multiple industries.
And I'll say the same thing with products that I know I'd invest in Andrew's company because while lithium has a lot of shortcomings, it still is the technology that's here now and has a lot of future. There's going to be a huge place for it. I mean, you're addressing a lot of the risks in that industry right now that are around that.
Apologies, I misunderstood the question. So I would invest in you. Sorry for being late. It's a little bit chat.
And just to wrap it up, I'm going to cheat, but I would invest in Rick's business because that will provide seed capital into the voltage valley to all the companies that are in this space and will provide a diversified basket. I would go long on Ohio any day, given the fact that we have a whole day of different technologies we talked about, from the Queen City Angels to Columbus. Cleveland maybe a little bit finally, but that's sort of a misnomer. So that's what I think we have to wrap it up, Mark. Unless there's time for a couple of questions from the audience. One question from the audience. Who feels compelled?
Is it commercial or residential? Where's the real,
Which technology, hydrogen or battery?
Okay. Go to market is usually once you solve the pack, how do you get it out?
Ours is commercial and industrial. I don't think many people will be driving around hydrogen vehicles. We've seen that struggle in Japan. Ours being commercial and industrial. Okay, that's all. Stephen?
How long do you think it will take for these things to really market accepted? The technology on both sides, not accepted in the technology, accepted.
Maybe myself. I think it's really now. At least what also here in the industrial space. So maybe residential would take a little bit longer, but the industrial end up. I'm working on, I think, the first green chemistry project I did 15 years ago, and at that time it was everything. It was nice, but it's at the same cost, isn't it? And to be more expensive, the regulatory environment was not there. So now I think all the drivers are there from the industrial space.
Is the system in place to support it? I thought the infrastructure is still behind. So
For the decentralized solutions, yes, because they have the interface needs power. So for backup solutions, for instance, I mean, today you have a diesel generator, and then you put a fuel cell. So easy to do. So
Let's hear that side.
I think for ours, it's probably 2 to 3 years to get into the market, and then 3 to 4 years, very close to the 5 years to get mainstream, where most people will hear about flow batteries, sodium solid state batteries, these other batteries that will displace.
We're working for a lot of companies right now, so I'd say the time is now. I think the IRA bill has, and with its sunset provisions, has said, get it now.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, two more panels, and we have Wolf Star to, please, and moderate. So first, one at Ohio's edges, the education system. And we close by focusing on how we as a community at Ohio.
Come join our 361 firm community of investors and thought leaders. We have a lot of events created by the community as we collaborate on investments and philanthropic interests. Join us.